Welcome to my channel where I'm making tutorials for all of the Skate UK levels. So this is how to pass Skate UK level 1. So our first exercise is moving forwards. So the things you need to remember when you're practicing this is to keep your head up and don't look down. So that's like the main thing people do, which just puts you off balance. And then you want to have your arms out. I know people sometimes get a little bit worried about putting their arms out, but it makes it so much easier in the long run. And also make sure that you're bending your knees and using both feet equally. A lot of beginner skaters just tend to use one foot to push, so it is hard, but you have got to try and push with both of your feet. So next we've got sit and stand on the ice, which is obviously such an important one because if you're doing figure skating, you're going to be on the floor quite a lot, which is a sad reality. So off the ice, you need to just go onto both knees and then put one knee up and use your hands to press up off there. So a really easy way of not putting your hands all over the floor when you're getting up. So then we've got moving forward 10 steps with a glide and a dip. So you've already learnt how to move forward earlier on in the video. So just same thing, and then glide and bob down. So if you're practicing this, you need to think about your feet being parallel with each other and have them hip distance apart on the glide, and have a correct dip position. So you just want to bend your knees, keep looking forward and having your weight towards the back of the blade during the gliding process. You want controlled speed throughout the full movement, and you want to make sure that you've got good posture, so engage your core and have your arms outstretched in front of you during the glide and the dip. So then we've got stationary snowplow stop. So obviously it's really important to learn how to stop just as much as it is to get going. So when you're practicing this, you want to have your body weight slightly forward and your weight wants to be on the front / the middle of the blade. So your blade should be flat on the ice and not on the edges. And then make sure that you're pushing both feet out equally at the same time so you can slide them over the ice to bring you to a stop. Now we've got a moving snowplow stop, so just take a couple of steps, go really slowly at first and you can build it up later. So same thing, you just want to make sure that you've got control of your body, and same again with everything else, where your blade should be on the ice. But yeah, just take your time with this one and go really slowly. So the last exercise on this level is moving forward 10 steps, glide into a forward lemon this time. So when you're starting out with your lemon, you want your feet to be in a V position with your heels together, and then you want to push out, and then you want to bring them back in together to make a lemon shape on the ice. So with this one, you want your weight towards the back of the blade during the gliding process. You want to make sure that your posture is correct, engage your core and have your arms out. Make sure you've got controlled speed. Obviously create a lemon shape on the ice. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. So I'll be doing videos on more levels coming soon. So yeah, thanks for watching.
How to pass Skate UK level 2.
So for our first exercise on Skate UK level 2, we've got moving forward 10 steps, a 2-foot glide and then a curve to the left and to the right. So to do this, first of all, you want to move forward 10 steps. So it's easier if you do this down a hockey line. And then you want to put your arms out and then lean into the circle and glide, balancing on 2 feet. So when you're doing this, you want your weight to be towards the back of the blade when you're gliding. And then also when you're gliding, you want your arms to be used like an aeroplane. So it's kind of fun. I think you'll enjoy this exercise. Next up, we've got a moving snowplow stop, or you can do a T-stop if you prefer. So for this one, you want to move forward 10 steps, then you want to glide on 2 feet and then go into a snowplow stop if that's the one that you're choosing to do. So when you're doing the snowplow stop, you need to be standing on the flat of the blade and you want to try and keep your body weight forward so that you don't end up falling backwards. Also, on both of these stops, it doesn't matter which one you do, don't go too fast when you're first starting. That's something that you can add later on when you're feeling more confident. So you can also do a T stop instead of the snowplow stop. So if you're going to be doing this, you want your feet to be in a T position. So to do this, all you need to do is drag one foot behind the other. If you want to get really technical about it, it should be on the outside edge, that the one that you're dragging behind. But I think when you're just first starting out, just gently drag it behind yourself. So other things to note is that your body weight should be on the front foot and then slowly put more weight onto your back foot um, to apply the pressure as you're stopping. And as well, keep your shoulders parallel, because if you start to turn them, you're going to end up spinning around instead of stopping. Okay, next is super exciting. We're moving backwards. So to do this, you want your toes turned in, and you want your weight to be on the ball of your foot. And also make sure that your knees are bent and your ankles. So you want to be marching on the ice. So you are pressing down into the ice to be able to start moving backwards. Make sure that you're using both feet as well. Some people just tend to use one to push. Stretch your arms out because that's going to help balance you. And make sure, yeah, that your toes are turned in and your heels are pointed out. So it's like a V shape. If you're doing this in the Skate UK course, it is saying that it wants you to do it for approximately 30 meters without holding on. Our next exercise is a 2 foot turn on the spot. So you've got to go 180 degrees. So this is done when you're in a stationary position, and basically you just twist your torso and your bottom half in opposite directions while pivoting to feel the twist in action. So for this one, you want to make sure that your feet are parallel with each other and make sure that your weight is towards the front of the blade on the ball of the foot. You want to use your knees to bend and have it in time with the rotation of the body. So yeah, for this one, you just need to turn from one way to the other way and make sure that you're practicing both ways. Okay, our last exercise is forward and backwards lemons. So on this exercise, you want to do 5 lemons forwards and 5 lemons backwards. For this one, you want the weight towards the back of the blade during the gliding process, and you want to drop your ankles onto the inside edge and have a push-pull motion. So when you're making the lemon shape, you want to push out and then you want to pull your legs back in together. So don't push them too far out in the beginning because you won't be able to pull them back in. So start with them quite small and you can work on making them bigger. So this is the same thing for backwards lemons. You want to push out and then you want to pull your legs back in together. Use your knee bend to help you do this. Again, start really slowly and small lemons, and then you can progress to adding more speed and making your lemons bigger. Just make sure that you're doing them quite equally. So that's everything for level 2. Follow along for level 3 and the rest of the Skate UK course and more tutorials. How to pass Skate UK level 3. So our first exercise in this level is forward stroking. So the first thing to think about is the correct glide, push and the free leg position. So you're going to bend and you're going to go onto your inside edge and then push off from that. And when you push, you're going to extend your free leg and you want to make sure that it's locked off behind you and turn your toe out. So mine was a little bit pointed down, so you can try and turn it out a little bit more. So make sure that your weight is towards the back of the blade and not too much on your toe pick. Also, make sure that your arms are stretched out to the side of you. Like some people find it really hard to do, and they're embarrassed of using their arms, but it really helps. And yeah, it makes you a better skater in the long run. So now we've got a backward snowplow stop. So first of all, you want to start skating backwards. Then you want to glide on 2 feet and then you're going to push out into your stop. So don't go too fast when you're doing this, when you're just first learning. A few things to remember when you're doing your stop is to have your body weight slightly forwards and you want to be on the flat of the blade during the stop. You want your feet hip distance apart and parallel feet or toes turned out slightly during the stop. So if you're really struggling, which some people do struggle, to do a snowplow stop with both feet, you can practice it just on one foot first, and then practice it on the other foot, and then you can do both of them together. Sometimes people find it easier just to stop using one foot. So yeah, try that first. And you can also hold on to the barrier, apply the pressure, and then push out. When I was learning a snowplow stop, one of the coaches pressed my foot into the ice and then dragged it along the top. So just so you get the feeling of that. So now we've got forward to backwards 2-foot turns. So you want to do this using the big hockey circle, and you're going to practice it in both directions. So you want to look in towards the circle first and have your arms hugging the circle. So you're going to rotate your body, bend, and then you're going to rise over the turn. And then you're going to bend your knees again and look into the circle. So you want your weight towards the front of the blade, particularly when you're turning. And yeah, practice this both ways. Make sure that you're happy gliding forwards and backwards when you're doing this. And then you can just put both pieces together. Okay, we have forward, outside and inside edges, 1-foot glide. So we've got to do this in both directions, and each edge you're going to hold for 3 seconds. So in between each edge, you're going to take 3 steps or pushes. So off we go. We're holding the edge. So this is the outside edge. Then I'm going to step, step, step onto the inside edge and hold that for 3 seconds as well. When you're doing this, you're going to have your weight towards the back of the blade during the glide. So you're going to have your arms facing out of the circle. So when you're on the outside edge, it'll be the same arm as leg. And then when you're on the inside edge, it'll be the opposite arm as the leg that's leading. Also, make sure that your core is engaged and that you're looking up and round to where you want to be going. Lastly, we've got a forward 2-foot slalom. So you want rhythmical knee and ankle action. So you want to bend your knees and your ankles. You want your weight towards the back of the blade and your arms out. And you want your feet to be hip distance apart. So when you're doing this, start slowly and you can build up and you can get more edges as you're doing this. Thanks for watching.
How to pass Skate UK level 4.
So this is the first level in the development phase of Skate UK. So for our first exercise, we've got forward open chassis. Now you need to do these around the circle, and you need to make sure that you're practicing them in both directions. So you push with the outside leg, lift the inside leg up, and then push again. So make sure that your inside leg isn't been lifted up too high and that you're getting a really good push from your other leg to keep you going. You want to make sure that your feet are parallel with each other and that your knees and your ankles are both bent as well. Also, make sure that your weight is towards the back of the blade when you are in the gliding process. Now we've got backwards stroking. So earlier in the other levels, we learned how to start moving backwards just by marching, and then now we're going to learn how to push and glide. So to get the push, you want to be using like your half a lemon shape to get the push. And then once you've pushed, you want to extend your foot in front of you. So correct posture is really important. So make sure that your core is engaged and that your arms are stretched out to the side. Also, you want to make sure that you're using the correct pushing technique and make sure you're using the inside edge and you're not just dropping your ankles in. Okay, we've got forward outside edges. So you've got to do this on a curve for a minimum of 5 seconds in both directions. So to do this, you really want one of the big hockey circles, and you're going to skate on an outside edge. So if you pick up the foot that's on the outside of the circle, the foot that you're standing on will be on an outside edge. You want to have your arms facing out of the circle. To get a stronger outside edge, it'll probably be easier for you if you try leaning into the circle and pressing onto the outside edge as well. So make sure that you're leading with the same arm as leg, and that you keep your free foot low and close to your other foot. So if you can, open the hip to 90 degrees so that the foot is behind the other one. Now we've got forward inside edges, so very similar to the last exercise, but we're on the inside edge, not the outside. So same again, 5 seconds held in both directions. When you do this, to get onto the inside edge, you want to lead with the opposite arm to leg. Make sure your weight's on the back of the blade when you're gliding, and make sure that you're leaning slightly out of the circle so you don't get too much bite and fall into the circle. You also want to make sure that your foot is close to your other one and again behind at 90 degrees. So the last exercise is a 2-foot free turn. You want to do this in both directions. So if you use a semicircle and you want your body to be pre-rotated slightly, bend your knees, rise over the turn and then bend again. So you want your weight towards the front of the blade on the ball of the foot. So that's everything for this exercise. So follow along for more skating tutorials. How to pass Skate UK level 5. So our first exercise on this level is going to be forward crossovers. So you need to do these in both directions. The easiest way to do this is to find a big hockey circle, and you're going to hug the circle with your arms. Look where you're going. Look into the circle instead of out of the circle. You want to pick one foot up, so the foot that's on the outside of the circle, and you're going to pick it up and put it over the skating foot. So there's 2 parts of the push that we need to really focus on. So the first one is the first part of the push. So you're going to push your outside leg and you're going to extend it behind you. So you want to make sure that you're locking your leg off. And then the second part is a under push. So once you've put your foot over, you want to push with the foot that is going to be extended at the back. So you can see right here. There you go. You want the weight to be towards the back of the blade during the glide, so you don't just want to be on your toe picks. And practicing your crossovers, you'll find one way miles easier than the other way. So remember to put the work in and practice it the other way, even though it's so frustrating because you're literally doing the same thing, but just the other way around. So keep going and it will get easier in the end. Forward outside 3 turns. So again, you want to do this in both directions. It's easier if you start this on a semicircle, so you can use one of the hockey goals if your rink's got them. So you want to start with your arms facing out of the circle, and then as you turn, they'll be facing in at the end. So you want to rotate the body into the circle to start the turn, and you also want to twist the feet and the hips to make sure that you get the turn. Think about your weight being on the front of the blade towards the ball of the foot. Also, when you're doing the 3 turn, you're going to start with your knees bent, and then as you go over the turn, you're going to rise, and then here's the rise, and then you're going to bend again on the landing position. So if you're really still struggling with this, you can go back to practicing it on 2 feet, which we did at an earlier level. If you're still struggling as well, you can work on your edges, just the forwards and backwards edges, without actually turning, and then you can put the turn back on later on. Now we've got backwards open chassis, so you're going to do this in both directions, and you're going to do this around the big hockey circle. So you're going to do a backwards push and then extend the leg that you've pushed with, and then lift the inside foot up approximately 1 to 2 inches off the ground. So have your arms hugging the circle again. Look where you're going. So ideally look into the circle or down your back arm. That should make it easier for you. And then start really slowly. You will pick up speed as you're doing this. The more pushes you do, you'll get faster. So yeah, just take your time practicing both ways. Next exercise on level 5 is stepping from a backwards inside edge to a forwards inside edge. So for this, you're going to do both directions as always. Then you're going to make sure that your arms are hugging the circle. So you're going to be moving backwards to start with. So you're going to start with like a little half lemon push. So you can see, and then pick your free foot up, and then you're going to keep it low and close to your other one, so that it's easier for you to step on. And then step onto it and extend your back leg. Keep looking the way that you're going as well. The last exercise on this level is 2 foot backwards slalom. So this is a really nice exercise to do. You want to be doing 10 meters as a minimum. So you're going to be making sure that you're bending your knees and your ankles, and you want your weight towards the front of the blade, towards the ball of the foot, because if you go too far backwards, you will fall backwards. Make sure that your arms are stretched out to the side of you and have your feet quite close together, hip distance apart. So yeah, you just want to really feel the edges on this one. So thanks for watching.
How to pass Skate UK level 6.
Our first exercise is backward crossovers, and we're going to be doing these in both directions. So first of all, you want to have your arms hugging the circle. You're going to focus on crossing one foot over the next. So you want to make sure that you get an outstretched leg when you're pushing on both parts. So on the big push and the under push too, make sure you extend your leg. Now we've got backwards outside edges, so you want to be hugging the circle again, and you want to pick up the foot that is on the outside of the circle, so that the foot that you're standing on is on the outside edge. This might take a little bit of practice, and really just try and focus on engaging your core and not falling off the circle. So practice this one both ways and make sure that you're looking down at your arm or into the circle so that your shoulders follow along with it. And to make sure that your free foot is low down and close to your other foot. So now we've got backwards inside edges, so both ways, and this has to be 5 seconds each way. So you're picking up the foot that is on the inside of the circle to make sure that your blade is on the inside edge. Then we've got forward 3 turns. So to do this, you want to already pre-rotate your shoulders into the circle. So if you've not done a 3-turn before, the movement is bend, rise, bend. So as you're doing the actual turn, that's when you rise in your knee, and then to land, you bend back down. Then we've got stepping from a back outside to a forward outside. So if you do this on the circle, you're literally just following the circle round and step. So for this exercise, you want to make sure that your backwards outside edge and your forwards outside edge are both really strong, and then work on stepping from one to another. So thanks for watching, and there'll be more tutorials coming soon.
How to pass Skate UK level 7.
We're now entering the consolidating phase of the Skate UK course, so that's level 7 and 8. So our first exercise is a forward outside 3-turn with control and equal entry and exit edges, plus a backwards crossover. So you need to do that straight away without putting your foot down. So first of all, we want to focus on the forward outside 3-turn. So start on a hockey circle and push onto a forward outside edge, and you want to be bent in the knee, and then as you're turning, you're going to rise up and then bend again on your landing position. So once you've landed it, you want to put your foot down straight into your crossover position. So make sure that you're getting your extension and you're looking in towards the circle, and your arms are hugging the circle as well. So all that happens at once. So, and you also want to make sure that you're doing this in both directions. You'll probably find that one way is much easier than the other way. So for me, it is not this way. But yeah, just keep practicing it, and it will become a lot easier in the end. So yeah, just make sure on your crossover that you're getting the under push as well. So for the next one, I am really sorry that I had to change outfits because I forgot to film this one. So we've got forward continuous outside edges. So for this one, you're going to do 4 lobes, and you're going to do it on a hockey circle, or hockey line. So you want to do 2 on each foot. So for this, you want your weight towards the back of the blade. You're also going to be leaning into each circle as you're pushing, and you want to be leading with the same arm as leg. So depending on which side you're on, you can see the arm that I'm stood on in the beginning is the arm that is in front of me. And you want to make sure that your free foot is low and close to your other foot, your skating foot. Next up, we've got forward inside continuous edges. So you want to do this using a hockey line if you've got one. And then you're going to do a minimum of 4 semicircles. So you want your weight towards the back of the blade when you're doing this exercise as well. And make sure that you're using your arms. So that's going to really help get you around the circles. You also want to make sure that you're leaning slightly out of the circle when you're balancing on an inside edge. So that's going to stop you falling off the edge and going too far on your inside edge. And you want to make sure that your free foot is close to your other foot. And if you can, have your hip turned out, which I've not really done on this one, sorry. But yeah, at a 90-degree angle if you can. So now I've got a forward inside Mohawk. You want to practice this on both ways. And if you do this around the hockey girl, that's a good way to get the direction. So start off on your inside edge. And then you're bringing your foot close and you're going to swap to a back inside edge. So you want to think about really rotating your body, and making sure that when you push, you're bringing your foot into the instep before placing your other foot back down. So you can see here, we're going to push, hold the inside edge, place it to the instep, and then place it down onto the ice, and then push onto your back inside edge. So you want to make sure that you're doing it in both directions, as with any exercise, and also make sure that you're trying to get an equal entrance and exit edge. So don't just make one of them really short if you can. Another thing to note is that sometimes these are called C-steps, but in the Skate UK it's still called a Mohawk. So now we've got a bunny hop and a drag together. So to practice this, you really want to break it down into the 2 separate parts if you've not already done this. So to start with, you've got your bunny hop. So you're going to push and then you're going to swing your leg through and then land. So master that bit first, and then also master your drag. So if you're struggling with your drag, practice it on the barrier, and then you can either practice it holding people's hands and then eventually do it on your own. It doesn't have to be super low, but you can work on that. And then yeah, so once you've landed your bunny hop, you're going to turn your foot out to go straight into your drag. So yeah, thank you for watching and follow for more skating tutorials. How to pass Skate UK level 8. So for our first exercise, you've got a choice of either doing backwards outside edges or backwards inside edges. So I would really recommend practicing both of these because later on in your skating, you're going to need to do all of the edges anyway. So you may as well learn them properly in the beginning. So for both of these exercises, you want to start in a hockey line and you want to make sure that you're doing 4 lobes for each exercise. So that's 2 semicircles on each foot. For backwards outside edges, you want to lean into the semicircle for each curve and you want to press on your outside edge just to make sure that you can feel the curve. On both the inside and the outside edges, you want to make sure that your weight is towards the front of the blade on the ball of your foot so that you get a nice glide and you're not too far back so you'll fall off it and you're not too far forward scraping your toe pick along the ice. Now we've got backwards inside edges, so same thing, but this time we're going to be on inside edges. You want to make sure that you're leaning into each semicircle, but make sure that your ankle doesn't turn too far over so that you just get a nice inside edge and you don't fall off it. Now we've got a forward change of edge. So you're going from an outside edge to an inside edge with an outside edge swing, and we're going to do this on both feet. So you want to do this from a moving start. So once you get going, you're going to swing your free leg in front of you and then behind to make sure that it switches the edge. So a few things to note on this one is you want opposite arm to leg on the swing. So whichever one is your free leg, you want the opposite arm to be in front of you. You want to make sure that your weight is towards the back of the blade throughout this so that you're not scraping onto your toe picks. Really think about each edge that you're on as well. And release the skating knee and the free leg following the swing to change the edge. And you need to make sure that your forward inside edge is really controlled. We've got forward inside mohawk, backwards crossover and step forward on an inside edge. So you're going to do this around a big hockey circle to have it on a curve. You want to do this in both directions. So make sure when you're practicing this to break it down. So practice your mohawk, your crossovers and the step forward individually and then put them all together as well, just so that you're feeling really confident. When you're doing this, you want to make sure that your mohawk has a lot of control, so make sure that you're bringing your foot to your instep, placing it down properly, make sure that your entry edge and your exit edge is both equal as well. This next exercise is a two-parter as well, so we've got forward crossover step wide and then backwards crossover step wide. So first of all you want to do 4 sets of crossovers, so 2 on each side, and you want to do this down a hockey line. So I would recommend not using the line that's really close to the barrier like I did, just because I nearly took myself out doing this, because you don't realise how much speed you actually gain from your stepping. So when you're doing the forward crossover step wide, you want to make sure that you're really extending your leg after the step wide. So then we've got the backwards crossovers with the step wide, so make sure that you're really extending your legs, and just be careful when you're practicing this one because you may have people skating behind you, so just be aware. Then lastly we've got a forward outside 310, a backwards crossover with a sustained landing position on a circle in both directions. So you want to make sure again that you're breaking this down into parts and you feel really comfortable with each one individually before putting them together. On the 310, make sure that you've got an equal entrance and exit edge. On your crossover, make sure that you've got really good quality edges and pushes, and make sure that you've got your extension on there. And then on your landing position, you want your free leg to be out and make sure that your toes turned out too. That is everything for this level, so thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and then I'm going to be doing bronze, silver, gold and platinum next.